Hi, everybody. My name is Tasha Penwell, and I'm doing a series of job search techniques. I am with Hawking College, and these are just little tips and techniques that I've acquired over the years, the research as a resume writer that I've also do to provide students some instruction as they go into their next steps. And I'm just providing additional instruction with the Job and Family Services for if they need it. So let's go ahead and get started. And this particular topic is going to be about online interviews. So, what is an online interview? An online interview can take a couple different formats. The first one is a one-way, where it's more of a Q&A and less conversational. And the interviewer asks questions from the interviewee. It's not quite as conversational. It's probably a little bit scarier if I had to make a guess. I don't think I've ever been in a one-way online interview. Now, the live interview is more interactive and more engaging and more resembles the traditional interview in regards to there's conversation about the applicant's past history, what they've done at previous jobs, their experiences, the normal stuff that happens within an interview process. It's more conversational and it's a little bit easier to do and not quite as nerve-wracking, in my personal opinion. So why would an employer do an online interview? It can be faster and easier to coordinate and schedule. If you have multiple people that's going to be part of the interview process, representing the company, somebody from HR, somebody from the department that they're looking to hire, a variety of different people for whatever the reasons and whatever the role, then, if they have multiple locations and multiple schedules, it can be difficult to coordinate everybody's schedule to be at the same place at the same time, especially if there's multiple candidates that they're interviewing. So it's just easier and faster to take advantage of the technology that we have today and use the apps and the tools that are out there, such as Zoom, WebEx, Google Hangouts, Amazon Chime, to conduct an interview online. Another reason that they would want to do an online interview is because of the geographical distance. If you are interviewing for a position that's in another state, then maybe it's not necessarily feasible for you to make that commute for an interview, especially if there's multiple interviews as part of the hiring process. So to lessen the geographical divide, using technology can make it more feasible. And another thing that you can think of that didn't necessarily list on here is more and more jobs are becoming remote. So if your job itself is going to be remote, your interview is definitely going to be remote as well, or online. So those are some of the reasons that that your potential employer may decide to do an online interview. So some of the tips that we're going to be going over is discussing the location, the equipment and the audio, the lighting and the camera angle, your dress, your energy, and practice and preparation. So let's get started on location. You want to make sure that you're in a location that looks clean and is professional. They can see behind you. I know there's some apps and some screens that Zoom and other technology platforms have out there where they can obscure the background, like you can't necessarily see it. I wouldn't personally advise not using those because the employer could be wondering what you're hiding. Again, it depends on the personality of the company and the employer that you're applying with. They may be fine with it. They may like it. But my personal recommendation, unless you know that they are okay with it, that is to not utilize one of the screen filters. I would just make sure that your background, what they see behind you, is clean. Make sure it's professional looking. The field that you're applying for. Have it represent what you are as a potential employee for them, and just make it clean and professional. The equipment and the audio. So most computers anymore, they have a webcam. Most laptops anymore, not necessarily desktops, have a webcam and mic already built into it. You can upgrade And if your laptop or camera, or if your laptop or the computer device does not have a webcam or a mic built into it, you can make those purchases. But if a lot of them, like I said, already have that built into it. The mobile devices. Another way that you can, participate in an online interview is utilizing a mobile device, like your cell phones or your tablets and such. There a lot of them utilize an app, like the WebEx has an app, Amazon Chime has an app. There's multiple different technologies out there that the interview, whenever they set up the interview, that they'll tell you what technology that they're going to use. But you can use your webcam or your mic or your mobile device. So you can use all those, but then you also got to make sure you know how to work it. You don't want to be fumbling around trying to figure things out 10 minutes prior to the start of the interview. You want to at least prepare for any kind of downloads that may need to be done for the software, whether on your mobile device or on your computer. You want to do it at least at the very minimum the day before. You want to make sure that, they work okay, that they sound okay, that nothing's broken, that you know how to, work the camera and stuff. So you want to make sure that you have the equipment that you need. Lighting and angle. So check your lighting. Do a practice run, and we'll talk more about practicing later, but do a practice run. See what the lighting looks like. So it's best to have natural lighting if you can, like so if you can sit by a window or if you're able to be outside and it's got a nice background and scenery and it's professional for the field that you're going into. Utilize natural lighting if possible. If not possible, try to make sure like the lighting is like in front of you. You just have to play with it. Don't want it necessarily behind you because that's going to create a shadow and they're not going to be able to see your face. So you want it in front of you at an angle that's going to be appealing. It's going to help you, and it's not going to cast a shadow. So you also want to check for reflections such as mirrors or windows, etc. An example being whenever I was setting up a work from home setup and I was participating in video conferences, the wall behind me immediately was fine. It was clean, it was uncluttered, it was just my wall. But I also noticed that there was a mirror behind me. And that mirror reflected a part of the house on the kitchen that was not quite as clean and tidy. So, I took down that mirror. So be aware of those things. Even if the immediate wall or bookshelf or whatever it is that you have in your background is fine. If you have anything that could provide a reflection onto something that you may not necessarily want it to be seen, remove it. It could be, like I said, in my example, a mirror. It could be any kind of window. If the window is going outside and you may not want that to be seen, put a curtain or something on it. Anything that could be that could create that reflection. Just be aware of that and see what the reflection is. Dress. So you want to make sure that you're dressed appropriately for the role that you're applying to, just like you would in a typical face-to-face interview. Dress for the role that you want, and you choose colors that are appealing to you, and on you that are flattering on you. I'm personal preferences usually kind of tend to be brighter colors, but that doesn't have to be for everybody. Just find something that's flattering for you and be professional. Amp up the energy. So video does require a different kind of energy level as opposed that you could have in that face-to-face engagement and interaction. It's one of the reasons that as an instructor and also a lifelong student, that I always prefer for the option of in classroom teaching and learning, because there's a different kind of vibrancy, there's a different kind of energy part of it, there's that different kind of engagement factor. But as opposed to doing a virtual classroom or online class or online lab, there's something different about being person to person that is just better. But if you can't do that because of circumstances or at the employer's request, you need to, kind of try to bring in that extra energy to the online onto the online platform that you're using. Just amp up the energy. Get the blood pumping before the interview. Do some jumping jacks. Do some push-ups. Get your heart rate going, and get the endorphins and everything else happening. And smile. The smile can say so much about the interview. They know you're nervous. Everybody knows. It's a nerve-wracking thing to be in an interview process. You don't know what questions that they're going to ask you. You don't know if you're going to give the right answers. You don't know if you're kind of going to blank on a potential answer. You don't know. But even with all that nervousness, you can still smile. Don't underestimate the value of a smile. It permeates, it's good. Just smile. And practice makes perfect. So, practice being in front of the camera. Pay attention to where you're looking at. Make sure you're looking at the camera and not necessarily at something else, because they can see the interviewers on the other side. They can see if unless you have a good reason, that if you're not looking at the camera, which is, looking at them, if your eyes are constantly diverted, or if they can see that you're distracted by something that's going on behind the scenes or something, anything, then they can see that. And it kind of looks like, you're not necessarily as engaged in the interview process. So make it a point of practice looking at the camera. Like I said, pay attention to where you're looking at. Practice speaking with the mic. If you're naturally a soft speaker, you may need to kind of amp up the volume a little bit whenever you're speaking with the mic, so that the other people can hear you. And know how to operate the equipment. I mentioned this before. Know how everything works. Know how the mics work. Know how to turn up or down the volume. Know how to turn off and on the camera. Know how to operate the app or whatever the technology it is that they're wanting to utilize for the online interview. Know how all of that stuff works. Whether it's on your computer or on your mobile device, be familiar with it. As I said previously, download whatever app or technology at the very minimum one day before. A lot of those times, those technologies that you would need to utilize, they might have a longer download time necessary than what you had anticipated. If you don't have the greatest internet or the greatest bandwidth, then it could definitely take longer, and it may not even download. So you just need to make sure that you have everything prepped and ready, downloaded, updated, whatever it is that it needs to be done at the very minimum one day before. And I mentioned a little bit ago about the internet access. Make sure that you have reliable internet connectivity and bandwidth when you're during the interview. You don't want it to be cutting out. You don't want it to be losing signal. You don't want it to be buffering. So even if that means you having to go to a different location and sit in your car while you're doing the interview, I know it's not the most appealing background, but if that's what's going to have to make it work so that you can successfully complete the interview, make it work. Just make sure you clean out your car. And depending upon the role that you're applying for, just let them know that let them know what you're doing. Let them be honest with them. Let them know that you're in your car because you had to go somewhere with better internet, and for that they'll show that you're going the extra mile for this interview process. Obviously, if you're applying for a job where it's working from home and you need internet access, that's not a good thing to do. But if it's for a job where you'll be going to another place, then that's fine. Just let them know what you're doing. Let them know that you had to make the extra effort, and they might see that as a good thing. They should see that as a good thing. Just be prepared. Know what's going to work and what's not, and figure out what you need to do to make it work. And part of the preparation is if you have other members that are going to be around you, if like you're doing it at home and the rest of your family, is also at home, then make sure that they're aware of what you're doing. So interruptions, no interruptions, that you cannot be interrupted during this time. And if if the other people are utilizing the internet while you're doing the online interview, tell them that they need to be off the internet and off the internet if that's going to take up any of the bandwidth and create any kind of connectivity issues. So, prepare and practice and be ready to rock that interview. So, other tips: network, meet with people, talk with people in the field that you're going to go into. I talk a lot with my students about volunteering for conferences, for conventions. And some of the benefits of volunteering is that, you get in for free, usually at these events that cost several $100s or several $1,000s. And then you also get some additional skills to put on your resume, and you get to meet and network with people that you may not have otherwise. It's an additional opportunity to meet with people. There's meetups, there's webinars that you can join, and with the pandemic situation that we're in right now, those can be utilized more often. Join LinkedIn. It's a great community that you can kind of network and meet with other people that can help you in your job search. Search for virtual career fairs. I mentioned a couple of times about remote working and virtual working. Those are becoming more and more opportunities that are out there working from home. And you can see there's some online career fairs that might be an opportunity for you. And be quick to respond. With the current situation that we're in with in May 2020 is we're in the pandemic mode. There's been a shutdown, lockdown, depending on your state, what the terminology is used. And as a consequence, not surprisingly, the economy has faced a downturn. And previously, the past several years, the unemployment's been low. So, it's been more of an employees market that they can kind of pick and choose, find the jobs, and the employers are, looking to try to fill those roles. And well, now with the economy crisis that we're in, it's kind of, reverse that, which is always going to happen. There's always some reason that's going to happen. It's just the nature of things. And, so now it's more of an employer's market, meaning that there's less jobs available and more people looking for those jobs. So you want to do something that's going to stand out. And one of those things that you can do to stand out is to be quick to respond. If you are notified that there's a job opening available, I've done in previous videos talking about resumes. Make sure your resume is updated frequently and be able to, send that bad boy out whenever you see that there's a job opening. Whenever you get a request for an interview, be quick to respond. Don't make them wait a day or two. And be quick to respond to show that you're interested in the job and that you'd like to go ahead and schedule that interview. And after the interview, be quick with a follow-up. Thank you. Let them know that you're interested in the job and that, after you've learned more about it and gone through the interview process, and then how you think that you'd be an excellent candidate for the job. So be communicative, be quick to respond, be informative, be helpful, do all those things that makes it a little bit less of a headache for anybody in the HR and the department in the company that you're applying to. So here are some references that I've utilized from my research on preparing for this. CyberWire is a podcast that I like to listen to. And from Down to Staff, I believe they're an employment agency with Laura Dimling and Courtney Wondolowski. They were a couple guests on the CyberWire podcast. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. That's my LinkedIn and Twitter handle. And if you have any questions on anything, please let me know. If you have questions on technology, if you have questions on how to make something work, if you have any questions at all, please reach out. Thank you.